Hey, Jerry, thanks for attending today. Jared, I don't think Jared's there. Good afternoon. Hi. I want to welcome you to the monthly meeting of the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities for the City of Omaha. Um, this is our May meeting. For those of you who might be watching on TV and are seeing our rebroadcasts out of order, so I hope that's helpful. My name is Mark Smith. I chair the group. Um, we'll do some quick introductions. I work at the Monroe Meyer Institute. I'm on the faculty there, working in the University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities program. But I'm also the parent of an adult son with intellectual disabilities and also sibling to a younger sister with intellectual disabilities. I will open it up to our two attending members to introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Scavdall. I work at Outlook Enrichment. We provide recreational activities, cultural activities, technology training, independent living skills, benefits counseling for those who are blind and visually impaired. We also have some employment opportunities as well. And I'm here representing the blind and visually impaired.
Thanks, Steph.
I'm Megan Walls. My company is Assistology. I do consulting and training across the lifespan and across environments with regard to accessibility and inclusion. So I'm here with the greater disability community in mind.
Thanks,
I'm also
Megan.
the vice chair of the commission.
Thank you, Megan. Sorry, I stumbled over your talking there. I do want to, welcome you all. I also want to welcome our guests and presenters. I do want to inform you that our commission meetings are taped and rebroadcast on KPAO channel 22 on Cox. The times of those are a little uncertain right now. I happen to run into it at 5 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. on a Monday, but I don't know if that's where we're going to wind up because then the subsequent Monday, I didn't see our rebroadcast. But I have heard from interested parties in the community that they have seen our rebroadcast. So we want to thank the City of Omaha staff from the in terms of helping kind of make that a reality. We had done that for a number of years and it just kind of fell off the radar at one point, and it's just been very hard to get it back on. So, as I say, if you just check your channel guide, it is on channel 22, and you can also see videos, YouTube videos of our meetings of the disability commissions at our website at www.cityofomaha.org. Click first on Mayor's Office, then click on Disabilities Commission, and it'll take you right to a page that has some of our past presentations, which we try and ensure has information germane to immediate concerns of Omahans with disabilities and their families and the public at large. Let's see. We do have a few members that are under the weather or otherwise detained, so hopefully they'll be able to join us next month. I'd say to the audience, have a paper and pen handy to take notes at the end because we'll have a few announcements. Let's see. We did not have a quorum today. Although our membership is down, we still have some members that we're kind of working through, and we're hopeful that we can get some new members starting soon so that we can kind of get our numbers up to speed. Just had a member resign today, and I'm sad to report because she was excellent. As such, we were not in a position to approve the agenda or the minutes, but given that we've been kind of functioning that way for a while due to the pandemic and the fact that we've had to do a lot of our meetings virtually, we just have a backlog of approvals that we have to deal with. Actually, I don't think we do. We have a few. We have a few. Okay. Stephanie knows all of that, so I defer. Um, So again, information about the commission is available on our website, and I'll talk a little bit more about the fact that while we're working to try and start meeting in person as a commission, uh, we also want to keep a virtual link to our meetings available for Omaha citizens that might have a transportation concern or just time issues and want to bring something before the commission. And I've had assurances that we can continue to do that, but then you have to be able to find it. And what our plan is to make that available on our webpage, but more importantly on our Facebook page on a consistent basis. So I'll share that a little bit later. Um, at this point, we did talk about some old business and that some things that we're going to try and address. Um, an issue regarding the cost of transportation for an individual with a disability in Omaha was brought before the commission in a former meeting, and so we talked about some options for that, and Megan came up with some resources that we're going to pass along to see if that can support this particular individual. We actually have a number of our members who are involved in different transportation activities, as well as other activities germane to people with disabilities across the state and across the country. So we're working on transportation, but this is specific to this individual. We're also kind of watching to see some responses to some recent uh, letters that we sent out, in particular to Mecca regarding the Jean Leahy Mall, Heartland of America Park, and Lewis and Clark Landing updates that are nearing completion. There was also, we talked a little bit about some issues that were brought to the commission's attention regarding access to the zoo and the cost of services at the zoo by a person with disabilities. And the member who talked about responding to that specifically hasn't been available, and so but has been working on it. So we're still working to see what we can come up with on that. Finally, we talked a little bit about membership. As I said, we've had a few members drop off. This is not atypical for this group. We'll lose some members, but then we'll get a batch of folks. And I'm told there are some applications that are waiting approval from the city. So that would be great if we could get more folks here and so that we can do our work on behalf of the people that we're here to represent. Does that sound about right, guys? I'll take a nod. Nod. There's an album, but I won't go there. So at this point, I want to introduce and welcome our presenters for this month. Specifically, Jerry Bryan and Sherry Behensky are from the Department of, well, they're not here, they're coming in virtually from the Nebraska Department of Education Client Assistance Program. And we're interested and eager to hear more about their program, the work they do, the individuals they serve, and some of the outcomes of that work. So at this point, Jerry and Sherry, I can't say that very many times too quickly or else it won't come out well. But if you want to introduce yourself a little further, that'd be awesome, and we'd love to hear the information you're bringing to us. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jerry Bryan, and I am the director of the Client Assistance Program. And our program has been around, and again, we work with individuals with disabilities, and the CAP program, or the Client Assistance Program, was developed back in 1984 to help more of individuals coming into the voc rehab services and kind of understand their rights and the services that they're entitled to. And our program here in Nebraska is kind of branched off into two parts here. And I'll talk more about the client assistance program, and then Sherry will talk about the services that we provide for the Hotline of Disability. Now, the first part of our presentation, we are specific to individuals that work with vocational rehabilitation and the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and then Independent Rising and League of Human Dignity facilities throughout the state of Nebraska. And we serve as advocates if at any time these individuals feel that there's a disagreement, or they feel that they maybe a service wasn't provided to them, they're more than welcome to contact our office. And our services are free of charge. And as what we do is we speak more about the services that they are entitled to. Obviously, we will serve as advocates if we feel that we need to pursue that avenue. And I'll talk a little bit more about our roles as we move in it. So the purpose of the Client Assistance Program is to provide assistance in informing and advising all clients and client applicants of all available benefits under the Rehab Act. Upon request, to assist and advocate for them in the relationships with their project, program, and services funded under the Rehab Act. We also provide assistance and advocacy in pursuing legal, administrative, and other appropriate remedies to ensure the protection of their rights. And then we also facilitate access to services funded under the Act through individual or systemic advocacy. How we provide that assistance, we provide and inform clients and client applicants of all the services and benefits available to them, the rights and connections with those services and benefits. The services under the Rehab Act means vocational rehabilitation, independent living support, supportive employment, and other similar rehab services funded under the Rehabilitation Act as amended. And just to kind of expand a little bit on those services under the rehab services is now you're seeing more and more voc rehabilitation or the vocational rehabilitation offices are working more and more with juveniles or children in the schools and ranging ages from 14 to, I want to say, 21, and providing them those transition services from coming out of high school and venturing either into employment or to post-secondary education. And then, of course, what we always want to do, and this is a common issue with a lot of the clients that coming in, is pleading the individual's cause. And this can come into a form of speaking for the client, writing in support of that individual. So advocacy with programs and projects upon request. Advocacy can also be informal in negotiations, mediations, or informal administrative proceedings before government agencies. And we can also do this engaging in individual advocacy and then also in a systemic advocacy as well. Advocacy can be informal or in the court of law in informal administrative proceedings before government agencies, pursuing a legal, administrative, and other available remedies if necessary. So to pursue those remedies, We often do this in individual advocacy on behalf of a group or class of individuals with cases in a systemic advocacy, negotiation, mediation, again, the informal administrative proceedings or a fair or impartial hearing. This is the only thing that we're not able to do is to pursue that class action or to file a form class action in federal or state court. So to facilitate these, the accesses is informing the individuals with disability in the state, especially individuals with disabilities who have been traditionally been underserved or unserved or underserved by vocational rehabilitation programs of the services and benefits available to them through the programs authorized under the Rehab Act. To facilitate access by the individuals with disabilities and individuals with disabilities who are making that transition from public schools program to services funded also under the Rehab Act. So the, I guess to kind of sum up what the first portion of the CAP program does is that, and I always ask this of, as we do our outreach, is that the last question is CAP required to provide legal and administrative services or other appropriate remedies to ensure the protections of their rights? True or false? The answer is true. We are there to help the individuals pursue those. And then again, we look at the basis of the information. Obviously, we do need a release of information for the individual to sign in order for us to advocate for the individual. But most important, we look at the facts and we have to determine, is there legal merit in pursuing these remedies if needed. And again, if we cannot help the individual, we do have the resources to provide that individual to where they could, we could make a referral to a different agency so they can get the help that best suits their issues. And so with that, I've got my contact information is Jerry Bryan, and I am with the Nebraska Client Assistance Program. My number is 402-417-3412, and my email is jerry.bryan@nebraska.gov. And from here, I'll go ahead and I'll turn it over to my coworker, Sherry Bahinsky, and she'll talk a little bit more regarding the hotline for disability.
Thank you.
Hello, Jerry, you must have just gotten done. I was having some computer problems. And so I had to restart, and now it seems to be working. So we'll go from here. So
great timing, great timing.
That was good timing. So I'm Sherry Bahinsky, and I work with the Client Assistance Program and the Hotline for Disability Services. So a component of the Client Assistance Program is the Hotline for Disability Services information referral. So that's kind of how that got started. We are located here in Lincoln, but do serve the entire state of Nebraska. So anybody that has questions, concerns, issues, they can give us a call, and we'll try to locate resources for them. Now, we don't have the actual services. Say someone's calling and they're looking for housing or financial assistance, medication, something like that. But we will work to try to find the appropriate agency that might be able to help them. So a lot of times we get calls that people have tried several different places and they're not getting anywhere. They're just not sure who to call. So we can kind of step in and kind of be an advocate, kind of make some calls for them, see what might be appropriate to help them. So I like to show the website where anybody can access our information. So people can go on their own and look, or they can always give us a call or email, text, anything like that. But I like to show it so that you can kind of be familiar with it and see how it works and how we operate it. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Okay, and then I will pull up. So the website is just the cap.nebraska.gov. So if you go to that website, you will see more information on the Client Assistance Program, who we work with, those different agencies, and then it will show the Hotline for Disability Services. So this is the information referral portion. And like it says, anybody that has questions or concerns relating to a disability, they can sure give us a call. So here on this tab is where individuals can search the Hotline for Disability Services. So if we click on that, it'll show us how people can do searches. Now, if they know the agency name, say they just need a phone number or want some more information about them, they can put that in here. So if we just do maybe the League of Human Dignity, and then we click the button to do the search, it'll pull up the League of Human Dignities throughout the state so that people can find what they're looking for, click on the one they're interested in. Maybe it's the Norfolk office. They can click on that and it'll show them more of a description of what they can help with, address, phone numbers, hours, contact people. So just kind of more information if they know, who they want to call, but they just need a phone number. So if we go back and we will clear the search, then you can also search by categories and services. So here's the service category. If you click on this services information, it'll show you all of the categories we have listed for resources, and then kind of what we mean by them. Because if you go through these, we have accessibility, ADA, advocacy and support, emergency relief, employment. People may, for example, not know exactly what we mean by emergency relief. So they can click on this and then they can see what subcategories we have under that to kind of help them navigate where they're going. So we've got like the food, the rent, the housing, transportation. So they can kind of look there and see, oh, this is what they mean by that. So it's kind of just a little help for them. So if you click on that service category, and let's say we do that emergency relief, this is where all the services are listed. We can click on that. And then when you go over to the right, the services provided, it will pull up the list of what we just looked at, and you can narrow it down by whatever it is you want to look for, the rent, the utilities, transportation. We get a lot of calls for utilities and rental assistance. So I'll just do the utilities here. And then you can put in the disabilities served. There's some examples of the different disabilities. A lot of times that doesn't matter because, a lot of agencies will serve any disability. Most of the time it will just be when people are calling in looking for support groups or things like that, then we'll want to put in the specific disability to help them locate a support group. Age range, kind of the same situation. You don't necessarily need the ages unless it's for the very, very young, like maybe early intervention services, or the very old, maybe the area agency on aging, things like that. So a lot of times that doesn't matter, but they are in there in case somebody wants to put that in. Now here's the cities served, and we have all of the cities in Nebraska listed. We can just do Omaha. If we click on the O here, we can get to Omaha, and it will automatically pull up the county. So all of that information will be in there. Now we added this agency, or the city where the agency is physically located, because some people we found were calling in and they wanted to know what was right there in their city that they maybe could drive to, walk to. And so we added that because the city, county, it's going to pull up everything, whether it's in another state, another area, it'll pull up all of those resources. But we did add this physically located just in case people wanted to look for that too. So if we have in our emergency relief utilities Omaha, we can just do the search. And then it'll pull up some agencies in the area that might be able to help with the utility costs. So again, people can see which one they might be interested in. Maybe it's the community action. They can click on that and then get more information that they might need. If we go back here, we have these boxes to the left of the agencies that if people are maybe in an office, maybe at a library, and they can't make the phone calls right away, or they want to take this information and give it to somebody, they can click these boxes on the left that maybe they're interested in calling but don't have a chance to, or they want to give it to someone. They can select those agencies, and then at the bottom here, you can save those. And then it will show under the listing agencies, the saved agencies. So they can just click on the saved, and then it'll show the agencies they have saved. Here on this button, they can click out the report details, and it'll show all of the information they just saw, but they'll be able to print that out and take it with them. So it'll have, here's door ministry, there was community action, here's general assistance. So they can take that information with them. If we remove these, that will empty. And then it'll go back to our searches. So, and sometimes if you don't have a certain category or service you want to look at, you can just scroll down from that area and it'll show all of the agencies we have listed. It's in alphabetical order, so you can go through the pages and kind of see what we all have listed. And, you know, if people are going through here and they see something that's not right, maybe a phone number's wrong or a contact person has changed, they can click on this. And then at the bottom here, there's email us if you found an error, so people can give us correct information. But we do update these. It's on a cycle. We have about 100, 150 every month that we try to get updated. So it's about on an 8-month cycle that there is updated as best as they can be. So, but that's where people can email if they have an error or a change they want to make. Let's see. And if you are looking through here and you see something that's not listed that maybe would be a good resource for people, you can sure let myself know, and we can get that added and help other people too. So, and one other thing while I was thinking of that, one example here is we may not have all of the agencies listed for certain things, like for instance, the support groups for NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. They like, if we just put in NAMI here, they like us just to have the main office that's located there in Omaha, and they like people to call them, and then they will give them the number to the closest support group and that, and any information. They're really good about that. So if you don't see something too, that may be a reason. It's just Jerry and I here at the Client Assistance Program. So that helps out a lot too. So that's kind of the hotline in a nutshell. Just kind of wanted you to see the website, how it works, and how you can get people to the website. And I don't know if Jerry had mentioned, he probably did, that we do have the brochures for the Client Assistance Program and hotline, and we can get those out to you too, or whoever might want those. So I don't know if there's any questions or if you want more information, or just let me know.
Oh, I think we will have a few questions.
Okay, sure.
But I had a request first. When I saw you going through your the listing of disabilities, it talked about
Oh, yes.
it talked about DD, and that included MR. And
Yeah.
I would request that you take a look at that, because the term is intellectual disability, or ID. MR is something we're trying to move away from in terms of working in the intellectual and developmental disability arena, basically because people with intellectual disabilities asked us to.
Yes.
And so.
Yes, we can definitely do that. Good suggestion.
Questions from folks, please.
I had a question actually for Jerry, just to kind of give anyone watching anecdotal kind of reference to what you may be able to help with. When you talked about kind of the systemic advocacy around kind of those class action, multiple multiple party issues, are you able to just provide a couple of examples of the types of kind of class action claims, like categories or the types of things that have come across that you've helped people with, so they kind of know, well, they can help with this, but this we better go a different route, maybe to like the who's Brad Marin's group, Disability Rights.
Disability Rights Nebraska.
Yeah. So just to give that kind of line.
So again, we're a lot of the systemic issues that we've dealt with, and the most recent was they put out their release to their Rule 72, and this is how they provide payments, or they provide payments, and it's a guideline of certain limits of what they're able to pay for regarding services. Now, in this case, they went ahead and they increase the cost of the post-secondary education, meaning that they gave them more money so they could go to school based off of raising the cost of living. And so with the systemic issue that we found is that the Department of Education, or Voc Rehab, they made a mistake and they released that date prematurely. And so by doing that, they weren't in compliance with that Rule 72. And so what they had to do is they had to seek reimbursement for the money that they sent out prematurely for this post-secondary education. And our agency went in and we advocated for those individuals, is that was more of a VR mistake and prematurely making those payments. But Voc Rehab was wanting reimbursement back from those individuals that they paid out too much. And so, of course, our stance was, they had nothing to do with that and they had no knowledge of it, and VR should go ahead and assume the cost. And of course, we understood, and we had several conversations regarding this. And of course, their legal team kind of stepped in and says, well, there was a mistake made, and so we had to legally request that that we seek that compensation back. And we understood that, but again, it affected so many individuals across the state, because now we were getting a lot of individuals calling in saying, well, why do we have to pay this money back? I never asked for that much money. And now all of a sudden they're telling me that I've got to pay, and it was in the range of anywhere from $250 to $500 back for that one semester. I think another systemic issue that we had too is that when vocational rehabilitation went into the order of selection, everyone was put on kind of a waiting list. And the way Voc Rehab works is that it's designed to serve the most severe to the less severe individuals. And they've got categories that they do. Priority 1 is the most severe, priority 2 is the moderate, and then priority 3 is the less. And so again, we were in that in that conversation where, okay, what is the timeline? How soon can you serve priority one individuals and take them off that waiting list? And so we were just continuously monitoring that waiting list and asking those questions. And again, it was more of that dialogue and having that understanding that, although you're approved for the program, you're placed on this waiting list and you're going to get your services. But as of now, it says there's that priority list that they're working through, and they can only serve so many people at that month. Now, I'll be honest with you, and VR has really moved quickly through their order of selection, and now they are serving priority ones and priority twos where there's not a waiting list for those individuals. And the priority threes, as the last time I spoke to Voc Rehab, there was probably about 150 of those individuals, but there's already a plan to start working and taking those off the waiting list. So we've made a lot of progress in opening up that order of selection, and that also felt too with the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. They went into an order of selection. However, they were able to open up all their categories a lot quicker than the just general, is what we call it, general vocational rehabilitation.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
So I had a question regarding your authority. Knowing you're in the Department of Education and there's federal and state authorities that come to bear on the different programs, provided through NDE. Are you, and given the fact that you work so closely with BR in some of your efforts, are you federally, are you a federal requirement as your program, or is that through a state requirement?
It's through, actually, we are federally funded, but we are, the grantee is through the state of Nebraska, and it's through the Nebraska Department of Education is the grantee of the grant. So we are still in the state, and we don't have those federal resources. We're all still in state.
So there's no part of the IDEA that requires a CAP program?
Well, there is, anywhere there is a vocational rehabilitation program,
right,
and that's through the Rehab Act of 1984, is designated that there has to be a CAP program wherever there is a vocational rehabilitation office. Now, where the grantee of that funds, I mean, it varies. In some states, you have the disability rights will pick up that grant. Here in Nebraska, it just happens to be more of the Department of Education. In some other states, law schools have picked up that grant or become that grantee. And so it varies who applies for that, and then of course the governor will then give his permission as to who becomes that grantee holder of that federal grant.
Thank you. That's very helpful. So I guess the other question I had that was kind of a burning one is, there are, you're, through the hotline and through your website and through your work in terms of your outreach to communities being served, individuals being served, you're doing a lot of resource and referral, I'm hearing you say, correct?
Correct.
And so I'm wondering how much you're able to, or who you collaborate with, because I can think of other similar entities in Nebraska that are working within that information and referral for disability services space. So if maybe you could compare and contrast like what you're doing versus others, or where you are working together with other programs to ensure that people are not slipping through the cracks.
Well, that's a good question. Now, to really get specific about how the CAP services work, we do have a specific clientele that we have to deal with, and those are the individuals that are receiving funding under the Rehab Act services. Those are the individuals, and like we talked or I mentioned earlier before, is the vocational rehabilitation, the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and Independent Living. Those are the individuals here in Nebraska that are receiving those funds under the Rehab Act, and those are the individuals that CAP can specifically serve or only serve those individuals.
Okay.
And so what we do is the hotline for disability allows us to step out of that specific clientele,
Sure.
and then we're able to work with other agencies, and it's very frequent that we do work with the state ombudsman's office if
Sure.
there are specific issues, systemic issues. The Nebraska Disability Rights of Nebraska, we work with those individuals closely as well to monitor and possibly point out some of those systemic issues that obviously that our program isn't able to appropriately address.
Yeah, I asked that because I'm aware of, for example, the state authorized an aging and disability resource center system that I think, although it's not specifically focused to that particular population, but when you kind of open it up through the hotline, then it's like kind of there's overlap. I think of 211, I think
Right.
of others, and are those folks you talk with frequently, or?
We do cross time to time, and Sherry, if you want to go ahead and talk a little
Yeah,
bit.
I was going to say that I do have meetings with the ADRC. So we kind of, actually, when the ADRC kind of started, they wanted to see the directory we had, kind of the agencies we have listed,
Sure.
so they could kind of do their thing. So we do work with the ADRC. And like Jerry said, we just have a different, most of the people that use they are the VR clients and commission client.
Sure.
But it is other people too. But, and like the difference with United Way, that is basically anybody can call. We're more related to the disability services. So,
Right.
and a lot of times with utilities and that kind of things, it doesn't matter, but that's kind of where we are. And every client assistance program across the nation, so every state has a client assistance program, but not everybody has this directory that we have. We kind of just made this as a help for our clients. So we try to get as much information as we can from other agencies too. So we do try to work together, and they get ideas from us, we get ideas from them. So it's
Great.
just kind of a nice database that we have for ourselves too.
It was an impressive database, without a doubt.
If somebody wants to get their organization on there, do they just contact you, Sherry?
Yeah, they can just call me, text me. Yes. And do you have my information, or do you want me to put it in the chat, or?
I have your email, so I can get that out to the
Okay.
group, and it'll be in our notes as well. I have both you and Jerry, so. I'll
Okay,
get
yeah, that would be great.
Dispersed.
And if anybody is interested in receiving brochures, please email jerry.bryan@nebraska.gov. Give us your address, and we can send out pamphlets and flyers to you and your organization or agency.
That would be one other question I have, Jerry, is you talked about you've put flyers together. What's what do you have an outreach plan in terms of ensuring that folks that are, you know, might be coming into VR services or blind and visually impaired services, et cetera, where those families and individuals, you know, typically youth, but sometimes older folks, are aware of you and what you provide.
Absolutely. Is that every time that general VR, and what I mean by that is Nebraska VR is considered in the federal term to be general VR, and the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired is considered to be VR services in the federal language.
Okay.
Is what we do is every year when they, every 4 years when they start doing their state plan, we are required to be part of it. And again, specifically to sit in on that outreach and to determine those that are unserved and underserved. And we do this with the State Independent Living Council. I serve on that committee as well. And I currently sit with the Nebraska, what is the Native American Nebraska Education
Cool.
Committee.
Cool.
And so again, I sit in there with the commissioner for NDE, and we addressed again a lot of the services, the underserved and underserved populations. And as of now, we are currently working with VR to come up with a strategy to really bring in what the state identifies as those that are unserved and underserved throughout Nebraska.
Excellent. I'm grateful to hear that. And it's probably worth mentioning, given we're kind of limited to the city of Omaha and this kind of the surrounding areas, but we kind of fall into our rubric. But I believe, if I'm correct, about 40 to 50% of children in special education are in the metro area. And so you guys are probably talking to folks up here pretty frequently. So,
well, in the education in the high schools, there is a VR representative in every high school throughout the state of Nebraska. They visit every school, and that's the advantage of VR and the Department of Education working together, is that they can allow VR to have that presence. And I think a lot of it was when they came out with WIOA, and they really changed the way VR did their work. I would say prior to when I started, it was probably in 2009 as a counselor for VR. It was kind of flip-flopped, where a lot of the presidents was put on adult services and getting adults back into working. When WIOA came out, it really flipped VR kind of on its head, and they had to change priorities. And the pre-ETS, or the pre-employment transition services, really became a priority because Voc Rehab had to designate 15% of their funding to that program and provide it to that program. So it really put an emphasis on serving those individuals throughout the rural areas, and not only in the urban areas, but to really stretch out VR and make that presence known in schools. And so again, it was a lot of planning and a lot of strategic communication with your counselors, is because what we didn't want to do is go in there and duplicate those services. And we didn't want to feel that we were, or that Voc Rehab was stepping on the counselors' toes, or the instructors' toes. And so we made it very clear, and there was just that negotiation with Department of Education that this is what VR was going to do, and this is what counselors were going to do. So we didn't repeat those services or duplicate those services, and that VR would have more of those presence in all the schools throughout Nebraska.
Great, thank you. Any other questions?
I had a question in the chat from Jared. He wanted to see an example of the wheelchair accessible vehicle transportation in Omaha. So I just wanted to share my screen again and pull that up quick so I could kind of show, let's see.
Great, that's greatly appreciated, Sherry.
Yes, yes. Let me clear this last search. Okay, so he was looking for wheelchair accessible transportation. Now we have that under transportation in our categories. And then the service provided, we have like auto repairs, public transportation, financial, and locator. That would be under public transportation. So it's going to kind of pull up all public transportation. We don't have it necessarily narrowed down to wheelchair accessible, but it may show in the description what they can help with. But if not, people can always call in too and talk with us, and then we can make those calls if they don't want to do that. So if we put in Omaha, so we have the transportation Omaha and do a search, it will show some agencies that can help with transportation. So like I said, let me do, like the handy bus. It'll show the public transportation, kind of what they help with. Down here under the general information, we have wheelchair accessible. This says yes, so they do have some wheelchair accessibility. The fees, eligibility, different things like that. So you can kind of look through there and see, give them a call if you need to, but it kind of narrows it down to the transportation in a certain area. And it's just, yeah, all of this is on one page, but Sheriff Fair, now that's in Omaha, but that is more for the visual impairments, and it'll show that in the eligibility, certified as legally blind. So people can kind of see what's available and who they can help with. But like I said, if people are still not sure, they can always call us and we can make phone calls too. But yeah, it looks like that's wheelchair accessible as well. So just a few different places that people can look, and that's how you do a search then.
Very good, thank you.
Yes.
So before we close, I just want to throw it out there that if you're not even sure that if CAP is the right agency for it, just give us a call. We'd be more than happy to have that conversation with you. And again, if the Client Assistance Program cannot assist you, before you leave, you'll have a very good idea and solid plan on who's available out in the community that can best serve your needs. So we're free of charge. And again, just give us a call, tell us what's going on, and we'll do our best to make sure that either if our program can serve you and serve you as an advocate, we definitely will do that. If not, we'll find and help you get the services that you need in your community.
Outstanding. And the number you gave was 402-417-3142?
That is my direct line, yes.
Okay. And that would be the number you would want out, or is there a general number?
I can give you the hotline toll-free number, which goes to both of us anyways. So that's the 1-800-742-7594. So that's statewide, and actually out of state. We do get calls from out of state too. Maybe they have parents living here and they have questions about services for them. So yeah, they can sure call that number as well.
Well, and knowing we're in Omaha and you're in Lincoln, that probably might save a few long distance fees if folks are using landlines. But
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
everybody's
Absolutely.
on cell phones
And
these days.
just to let you know that we're still in the process of moving. We've since the COVID pandemic hit, we left the state office building downtown in Lincoln, and Department of Education moved out to West. No, actually, it's Easto on 84th Street. We took over the old State Farm building that was out there, and we're
80
still in transitioning, finding office spaces for us, but we're still working from home. So that's why we give out our cell numbers, is it's to better reach us, to where we still have that landline, but that landline, we've got to check those messages. And it's just much easier if you just directly call us on our cell phones, and we can better serve
Well,
serve you a lot.
it sounds like folks listening to this certainly have some options, and that's never a bad thing. So, want to thank you, Jerry and Sherry, for again. I don't want to say that too many times, or else I'll start tripping. But really appreciate all the great information and your time today, and can't thank you enough. Really
No,
appreciate it.
we definitely appreciate it, and thank you for the opportunity to share the information about our agency. And that's what it's all about, is to close that gap. And if we overlap a little bit, that's a good thing, and nobody falls through the crack.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Um, okay, well, thank you again. We're going to finish up because we're probably getting down to close to time. Um, I we might have to attenuate or shorten our announcements. One thing I wanted to mention is that, uh, for example, Jared and Keith Station from the mayor's office are with us virtually, as are Jerry and Sherry from the CAP program. And we want to keep the Zoom link available for our meetings so that members of the public, for their convenience, are able to join us. Or in this case, it, the circumstances, I was informed Jerry and Sherry were going to be with us in person, and that fell through at the last second, and that's okay because we have the Zoom link. And um, so we will be putting our Zoom link in our Facebook page, and we're going to try and pin that so it's available. And I can give you the information on where that's located. It's at facebook.com and then / MCCD, Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities, MCCD Omaha NE. So that's all one word, MCCD Omaha NE. But that follows facebook.com / so we're going to try and have our Zoom link there. So if you're a member of the public and have an interest in posing a question, bringing a concern, or just hearing live what, who we might have come in, for example, Jerry Bryan and Sherry Behensky from the Client Assistance Program today, um, you can access the link on our Facebook page. So, anything else? Anything coming up from our members that are present that you want to report on? I think we have like a minute. Good? Okay. Um, well, thank you again to our audience, to our presenters, and hope you have a good month. And we will plan to be back live again here on the fourth Monday in June. So again, thanks very much, and enjoy the weather and stay dry.
Thank you.